Welcome back to King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows. This time I'm going to be talking about G Gundam episode 26, which sees Domon facing off against Neo Greece's Marcelot something or other. So, first of all, a few things to get out of the way. There is a lot less images on this one if you're watching the video version, featured in the video, but there will still be the same, or there will be a lot more images in the show notes of the actual episode. And yeah, that's just how I've decided to do things. I'm going to hone in and focus on just a few images to talk about, or not to kind of use as prompts. And then the show notes will be a richer thing for you to go ahead and take a look at. So first I just wanted to touch lightly on the relationship between Prime Minister Wong and Master Asia. So Master Asia was the fighter for Neo Hong Kong previously. He got Wong into power, and I think that's where the similarities between these two men end. Actually, yeah, it feels like they're working towards a common goal at the moment, but yeah, it's I don't know. They're just very different. Wong is arrogant. He's a politician, a businessman. He is a leader in some ways, but not in any of the ways Master Asia is. He puts other people at risk, and just all of his attitude and his methodologies, and it'll become more clear as the series proceeds, are like way different from Master Asia's and how Master Asia would go about accomplishing the same goals. And it's a really interesting set of contrasts, especially because we got a sense that he isn't such a great guy from the last episode, where he was changing all these rules, enabling you to target the cockpit and things like that to make the Gundam fights more dangerous. So yeah, that's not good. And I mean, obviously he's allied himself with someone who's been proven to be a villain in Master Asia thus far. Although, how does he know that? Does he know about that stuff? Probably not, but we know, and that's kind of what matters, isn't it? So I believe they're pronouncing his name as Marcelot. Anyway, Marcelot is the fighter from Neo Greece. He is ginormous. I think he's even bigger than Argogolski. And I'm not quite sure why they decided that he needed to be that gigantic, except for the use of the Wonderbug stuff later. But I mean, I guess it's a good way to ratchet up the tension when Domon said that he was going to win every fight, and then he fights the guy who's most favored besides people in the Shuffle Alliance to win, and he's huge, and we get to see him, wipe the floor with Nether Gundam, which, by the way, or Hurricane Gundam is the name in the dub, but it's actually Nether Gundam, which makes way more sense because he's from the Netherlands, and hurricanes are not something that occurs in the Netherlands. Like Tornado Gundam would have made more sense, or Windmill Gundam, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, Marcelot, I mean, he seems kind of like a really bad dude at the beginning of the episode, but by the end of the episode, he has a bit of a turn with something that he says, and I kind of appreciate that. I'm about to expose some of my ignorance to you and the fact that I didn't, stop to Google this, but I'm just throwing it out there. Domon ends up making friends with Hoi, Ming, and their grandfather, as he's, pulled into the into the boat by the grandfather, who's a fisherman, and it's I think it's a fun counterpoint. These are humble, salt of the earth, or maybe salt of the sea type people, and they, are friends and allies of Domon. They help him out. They feed him. They decide that they're going to house him if he beats Marcelot, and Marcelo. I don't know. Whatever. It's all Greek to me, so I can't say really. Anyway, the thing about them is that, or one of the things I really appreciate about them is that Wong seems like a pretty bad dude. And he's a politician. He's the leader of Neo Hong Kong, and these fellow Chinese or Hong Kongese, or I don't know. I mean, Hong Kong is part of China, right? So anyway, that's just a fun bit of nuance that's there in the show. That you've got this like big wig guy who's probably very removed from the people, who has his ambitions and whatnot, and they've taken him to this place, and then you've got this old fisherman and his grandkids that he's, taking care of, whatever. And you get to see the difference between people at the top, so to speak, and people at the bottom. And it's fun that, a rough and tumble fighter type guy like Domon gets along with them really well, while he chafes at being with the Prime Minister of Neo Japan and Dr. Mikamura to an extent, and maybe even Major Lube, because he doesn't want anything to do with the military. He just is doing all this to save his family, and it's nice that he gets to find this a little broken, or they're not broken because they're together, but something's wrong because that those children are not that old man. There's grandchildren, and what happened to their parents, that kind of thing. It kind of puts him, Domon, in a similar position as these people. Or put another way, it's interesting that he finds himself in like a modified family situation, and he's embraced by them, which is something I'm sure he longs for. After all, Domon is fighting to restore what part of his family he can, and he's just lost his brother and stuff. So and it kind of makes it even more resonant there. So in the fight with Marcelot, there's some really cool stuff that happens. He's got this chariot Gundam that he rides with a horse head, and the front half is a horse and there's wheels and stuff. And it seems a little unfair that he should have that, but I mean, kind of limits his mobility, maybe makes him a bigger target. I don't know, but it's cool. I forgot to mention that Gramps, or the old fisherman, talked to Domon about this wonder bug that, supposedly there's this wonder bug that that's able to prey on creatures that are much greater than it because it never gives up. And Domon knows it's a fib. He sees through it, but he takes inspiration from the old man. And it's funny, this just before he goes to fight him, they laugh about the wonder bug because Domon's saying, like, I got no options. If I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose. And the old man kind of encourages him and says, like, oh, well, if you're going to lose, you may as well do your best. And that's what Domon does, and it's cool. There's this really great turn where he's bearing the attacks from Marcelot, and then he ends up cutting off the horse's head, and it goes flying. He destroys the chariot, and then they have a fight, and he does the erupting burning finger, which looks friggin' awesome. So that was a lot of fun. And after that, Marcelot is actually appreciative of Domon because of his skill, and he's kind of proven himself to him. So that's the turn I mentioned that he has, because he just kind of accepts, like, oh, I was bragging earlier and I was mad at you because you were bragging, but you won, so that's it. I don't know if there was some sort of conflation between what Zeus is like and what Thor is like, but for some reason Zeus here has a hammer. This is Zeus Gundam that Domon is fighting, and it has a hammer. It's a lightning hammer, or I can't tell if it's an energy weapon like the beam sword, or it's an energy weapon like Argo's, I don't know, whatever his Bolt Gundam has, that ball, that sphere of energy. It's an actual ball that comes off of his shoulder, and it's tethered by energy, which I accept. I'm fine with. Graviton hammer? I don't know. But the lightning bolt turning into a hammer doesn't really make sense. One, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand how the energy would shape itself in the world of G Gundam, because we don't have things that do that in this world. And the second is, why are you giving Zeus a hammer? Like, come on, guys. What are you doing? Anyway, one of the most fun things for me is that after Domon's victory, he gets out of Burning Gundam, and he is hanging out with Rain, and I can't remember, she says something to him, and he grabs her and brings her real tight in and squeezes her around the shoulders, and she's blushing, and he's saying just forget about your questions or whatever. Let's just go celebrate my victory. And it's just a really cute moment because he's just kind of dumb and oblivious, and that's not something I usually am endeared, or that endears me to a character when there's a romantic situation involved. But I really get it on Domon's part, but also I know there's the tenderness, but also he's kind of like a kid, and he's just excited that he won against this big guy. So I get why he would be, just excited and silly about it, whereas she, is like, oh, Domon's all over me, and blushing because of that. So that's pretty fun. Great well, not great episode, fun episode, good episode. I'm glad to be getting back into the swing of things with the Gundam fights. And, I mean, it's kind of going to be a little more formulaic going forward because it's just Gundam fight after Gundam fight. But there's a lot of fun little interactions and complications. Something interesting is that they're not traveling from city to city anymore. So that kind of changes the dynamic of like the flow of the episodes because they're not discovering something and then a fight happens. But we had like the fight between Marcelot and Domon here in the beginning, and then there's some shenanigans that happen in the beginning of the next episode. So there's usually like I guess you could say there's usually like an A-B plot, and the A wraps around the B, and it's concerning Domon finding somebody to fight, and here all his enemies are picked out for him, and he just has to show up to the match. But of course, stuff happens in between, which makes it more interesting, a richer experience overall. So anyway, that's all I have to say. This podcast is there's the audio and video version available. You can find them both at mjmunoz.com in the show notes for the episode. You can share this, subscribe if you're not yet, and you enjoyed this. You can ring the notification bell to get all of them as they come out, and check out the back catalog if you're just coming into this now. I've got 24 other episodes plus 2 extra episodes. The extra 2 are topical, and the other 24 are episode-by-episode discussions. The topical stuff was just some fun little things I found looking online about G Gundam. So, you can check that out. If you are just popping back in at G Gundam here, the reason I haven't been doing them for a while is because I was doing a Ultraman, the Netflix Ultraman from 2019 podcast on that, which you can find on the channel and, again, on my site, MJ Munoz. And if you like what I'm doing, you can help me by giving me money, so I have the ability, the freedom to invest in doing other things and doing more work of this sort. It'll help because it takes time, and time is money. And if I have money, from an extra income source, I can take time away from my work that I do professionally for a living to do this stuff. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and drop me any comments or questions you have in the comments either here on YouTube or on mjmunoz.com.